Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, if you are a business owner and you are either using artificial intelligence or not using it at all, this is the episode for you. My brother Bryan's going to be dropping some serious knowledge. He's a two-time best-selling author, speaker, trainer, Swiss Army knife of positivity. Bryan, my brother, welcome to the show.
Hey man, thank you for the kind intro, and I'm really happy to be here.
I'm so grateful. Thank you, Mitko, for putting us together. Without you, we would not be together. So I want to give a big shout out to Mitko. Thank you so much. So Bryan, first question I want to ask you right out of the gate. What is your definition of resiliency?
That's a good question. I think resilience is your quiet, relentless return to truth. So you're staying human, you're staying clear, and in the emotion, even when the world is spinning fast, loud, and uncertain, it is who you are at your core and how you stay at your core.
I love it. So give us a quick down and dirty about who you are, where you came from, and how did you grow up, and how did you become such a force like you are today?
Well, I grew up in San Jose, California, born and raised, and I ended up going away to college in Arizona at Northern Arizona University. I created kind of a path for myself at the early start of the internet as being someone who really enjoyed both communication. Communication was my degree. Japanese was my minor. International studies and Buddhism were a part of that. And I really enjoyed all facets of how we communicate, what we communicate, when we communicate. And I've kept that part of who I am along the entire path of my career in terms of how do we transform ourselves and others, transforming companies. Really the through line there is transformation. I think we all have transformed at least once, if not way more in our lives. And so I'm fascinated by that and work my way through agencies to help them in the dawn of the internet, creating moving them from traditional to digital agencies, and then building several companies since then, including one with my wife for over 25 years. We owned a marketing agency in San Jose and dealt with and built great campaigns over the years with incredible brands, Cisco, Netflix, MasterCard, all kinds of really cool brands. And along the way, I wrote several books and changed the way that I started to approach communication in my first book, Human to Human, which ended up kind of spawning the next episode or transformation of my own career into the second book, Shareology, and then eventually a TED Talk, and that created speaking and global speaking around the world for several years, and then that there's an even longer story after that in terms of how I arrived to where I am. But you can see the through line there is transformation. I'm somebody who believes not only in that for others, but also for myself and what is the next phase. So that brought me into what I'm doing now, long story short, which is executive coaching, and helping people to transform themselves. So that's where I'm sitting today.
So you've pivoted a lot over the years. But let me ask you a question, because what is it like living in Eastern culture and then also having Western culture together? I'm sure that has to be kind of a dichotomy, because, especially because my cousin did a lot of work in Japan and he picked up a lot of the ways. So what is that like, the Eastern and the Western culture?
Yeah. It's different for everybody. Not all of us can go to a Buddhist monastery and become a monk and live like monks our entire lives and become Zen and one with ourselves. I think, we're all facing some kind of conflict in our lives at certain points, or we're creating different levels of change as it happens. And as those things happen, it can take us down, or it can help to build us up into the next thing that it's preparing us for. I think that's where Eastern and Western philosophies tend to mix. And we can be more present with ourselves, which is really hard to do in today's age when you've got phones that are going off with notifications, and you've got all kinds of emails coming in, and you've got different avenues of channels of like Instagram and YouTube, and I mean there's more information that we could take in now today than ever. And so how do we then turn it off and just be in the moment without it overwhelming us, that we all have to be at all places at all times? It's not possible, but yet we always feel behind. I think that is there's a there that we're chasing. There's a place that we're trying to head towards. There's a destination, and yet there is no there. The there doesn't exist. We get to the there, and then there's another there. It's almost like you get to the mountaintop and you look over to the right and you're like, oh shoot, there's another higher mountain over there. And every time we get somewhere, there's something else new that we want, or new things that we think we need to have. And so there never really is a place that we get to, that we arrive, that gives us a sense of satisfaction. So the only real satisfaction that we ever have is right now. This one moment is the satisfaction. And that takes some determination and maybe a little bit of Western, Eastern philosophy of knowing that that right now is all we have. And I know this sounds very like, Buddhist, but it is that tomorrow isn't here and yesterday is done. Both don't exist. There is no existence of either. And right now is the only thing that we can put our finger on and say, we could touch this. We could do something with this moment. You and I are creating from this moment. I can't create from tomorrow. It hasn't happened yet. I can't create from yesterday. It's gone. It's not it's not physically possible. And so that's where I really think that as simple as this all sounds, that we all have just right now, it's true. We really do have this one moment. We are there right now.
Yeah. And I believe that, before we came on, I got notification that I got 39 days till my next cruise comes up. I got so much going on, but my focus right now is just talking to you. I'm not worried about what do I got to do at lunchtime. What do I got to do for dinner? I'm just focused on the moment, because I know that in order for me to have a great 5 years from now, I have to rule the hour, rule the minute, I have to just be in the moment, do the right things in this moment. And then my future will be bright and rosy as long as I do the right thing at this moment. Right.
Absolutely. If you think about the things that take you out of the now, right? Like the cruise, it's something good to look forward to. So that's certainly something to be excited about. Most of the time, we're either future tripping or past tripping. So a future trip might be, gosh, I have to take off all this time for the cruise. So what do I need to do to get ready for it? And then your head goes into a loop. Yeah. The loop being, what do I need to do to prepare? What are all the things I need to do to get my business ready or my family ready? And then the task list starts showing up. And now in our heads, we are in a stress loop of future tripping ourselves into this thing that should be about pleasure, but we've turned it into pain. We do the same thing with past tripping. I should have done this. I could have done this. I needed to do this, and I wouldn't be here now if I had done this differently. So the shoulds and coulds and the wills and what will I do to make this better? Those are the things that are our saboteur that's taking us out of the moment. And we have to watch that consciously and see that and understand that we're taking ourselves out of the pleasure of being here.
And I totally agree 1,000%. Now let's talk about artificial intelligence, because I know that guys, and before you guys say anything, I use AI every day. I'm a big ChatGPT 4.0 guy. I use it every day. I use it as an assistant, not as a crutch. But it's also saving me 3-4 hours a day for my job, for my podcast. So I love it, but I also know that there are certain things you got to watch out for, as far as being dehumanizing. So let's talk about AI, and let's talk about what you talk about, because you talk about this way more than I could ever talk about it. Talking about being human in social media and how to be social on social media. I tell everybody that, I'm like, listen, if you're not social on social media, you don't even need to be on social media. So let's talk about the humanization and also artificial intelligence. You already gave a TED talk, so this is your next talk.
I'd love to go into that. Before we dive in, I would love to ask you a quick question. You said I use AI as an assistant, not as a crutch. What did you mean by that?
Like I do a lot. I do a lot of studying. Like I know if I have a speech coming up, I'll use it to get bullet points, and I'll use it to learn stuff that I don't know. Because sometimes, a lot of people, I've been on several stages where somebody wrote something, or they put it this way, they copied and pasted it from ChatGPT. And then when somebody asked them a question about what they supposedly wrote, they couldn't answer the question.
There you go.
I use it more of a study. And somebody will ask me, they'll be like, well, why do you use it as an assistant? I'm like, well, if I go to my lawyer, I got to talk to his assistant first. If I go to my doctor, I talk to the assistant first. So I use ChatGPT as an assistant to help me learn and get better at what I do, and not just depend on it to do what I do.
Right. So, it's fascinating. I love that. The hard challenge is that that AI cannot understand your lived experience. It hasn't lived your experience.
Yeah.
Now, could you tell it your lived experience in pieces, in components? Yes. Is it understanding the contextual value that you could bring to someone else based upon your lived experience in the collective? If I were to add up all of the little shifts and changes in your life and those lived experiences and turn it into something that that then brings to the moment, the vulnerable moment, that you then turn that into something that makes sense to me and applicable to my situation, and creates that bridge to my understanding, to knowing how I can take that and move into the thing that's going to create change for me. Because that's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to help others or serve others in some capacity, whether it's service or support or products. We're trying to change someone's life for the better, and to help them do whatever it is that they're buying to do better. If we can use AI to help us get to the answer faster, absolutely, that's the assistant. But can it take our lived experience and help someone bridge their own knowledge faster into getting what it is that they want, or maybe don't even know that they want? No, it can't do that. And it's not going to do that for a really long time because your lived experience lives inside of you. And until we can extrapolate your entire brain and all of its memories and all of its feelings and all of its emotion and move that into something that can then be transferred into my brain and understood, it's not going to happen. So this is the difference between AI and humans. We are working together to accomplish things. We're not working against each other. And the people that learn that contextual value, that understand that lived experience is the value, that's where the power is.
Oh, and the funny thing is, now I'm starting to see nothing but, a lot of just AI stuff, and there's not that human feeling. Like I was doing a show last week with a friend of mine, and we were talking about how if old school and new school came together, it would be perfect, especially for marketing. Because, like for me, once we hang up, I'm going to get your mailing address. I'm going to send out a handwritten thank you card, just saying, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. But it's building relationships, new, old school building relationships. And then if you add the new school in with AI, I think it's a winning combination. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Yeah. Our brains aren't capable of remembering everything. I look at my address book or my contacts, and I scroll through it and look at different people, and all of a sudden it reminds me, oh, I haven't talked to Sandy in a while. Oh, I haven't talked to whoever in a while, whether it's personal or professional, it doesn't matter. I'm not capable of remembering all the little nuances in this moment because it's not top of mind. It doesn't make sense to me to think about it in that fashion. I'm thinking about today. I'm thinking about what I need this moment. I think you and I are most likely to think about what we need to get done, whatever the task list is to get done, and then who do we need to get that thing done. But are we pulling from random places that might also remind us of a relationship that we once had, we're not staying in touch with, or a moment that just reminds us of a certain fun that we had, or a created shared experience with another human being? Those things just need the assistance of and really are much more powerful when it has the assistance of, call it a CRM tool or an address book or whatever you want to call it, but something that brings us back into a memory, back into a human relationship. So I love the fact that I can tap into technology for that. Now, will it remember that we had this inside joke that we just have had for a number of years, that maybe we met at a conference and I stumbled, I tripped on a stair, and I thought it was hilarious, and you thought it was hilarious, and we now laugh every time we see tripping videos?
Yeah.
No, it's not going to know that, because that's such an intimate detail that you and I both know. And if I reached out to you and I said, just tripped the other day, and it reminded me of you,
Yeah.
that's something that AI isn't going to know. It's going to know maybe your wife's birthday because I told it that, or maybe it's going to know like certain factual things, but it's just not going to know those intimate little insider details that sit within myself and yourself. And when I can call that out and send that over to you and say, hey, just thinking about you, I tripped the other day. That is the good stuff. That's the stuff that creates a reconnection, or a moment in time that we can deepen the relationship. That's where it all lives. And that's where I think the power is in combining human relationships with technology.
but I think because me and you we're both big on LinkedIn. Uh, we get all the time those canned responses, or we get those canned. They get a connection request, and then 5 minutes later, there's 17 paragraphs, and you're like, man, you wrote that really fast. Where like for me, when I wake up in the morning, every morning, if you're a friend of mine and it's your birthday, I'm gonna write out, "Hey Brian, happy birthday, brother. Hope you're doing well. You know, I just want to let you know that I'm thinking about you, and I really enjoyed your TED talk. I can't wait to chat further. I can't wait to talk again."
Yeah.
I do that every morning to all my friends that have birthdays, but it's never a canned response.
Right.
And people are like, "Is this really you?" Because a lot of people will be like, "You can't send this out every single day to everybody." And I'm like, "That's how I build my relationships with people."
Yeah.
Like for me, I want to build a generational relationship with you, from here on. So I think you take the old school like that, or like Steve Sims taught me, sometimes just send a handwritten thank you note. Send some stationery from a hotel you're at. You know, show people that you're real and that you're not just you're having a relationship. So how important are real relationships in today's global economy?
Well, let's think about it from the angle of trust, because that's where I think you're calling us out, and I love that topic. I think trust is at the center of what is scaring the living crap out of everybody right now. Because do I trust that you actually wrote that on LinkedIn and you wrote it that fast and sent it to me? What does that do when you read that? It denigrates trust. It takes you away from wanting to know the person. It repels you from wanting to engage with them. Hey, listen, I've done that. I've tried it and it doesn't work. I did it and I realized very quickly, because I test and try everything, that it can't replace this gut energy feeling that we both have in knowing that was you. That was really you that wrote that. And it's just the way I know your tone, I know your style, I know your nuances, I know your punctuation, I know your capitalization, I know the way that you call things out. I know that it's not running a lot of long M dashes that AI uses. I know all these little intricate ways that makes it feel real. And the moment that you turn me off of that is the moment that I move to the next message. I don't even bother responding in that moment. Sometimes I get a little snarky, but most of the time I move on to the next message. And that's what we're going to see more and more. We're going to see this mistrust of, is that really him? Is that really the person that I'm talking to, or am I talking to a copy paster? If I'm talking to a copy paster out of some AI, or it's an auto generated, I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the recent stats, but almost 50% of the entire internet now is bots. That's pretty big.
Yep.
So now my mistrust has now gone down by 50%. 50% I don't trust the internet of engagement. That's a pretty big deal. So now what's the opportunity? The opportunity is to be more human, because if everybody's busy being less human and I stand out as being more human, I'm going to stand out even more. So that's where I think the power lies, is in being careful with how you use it, as you said correctly, I think, as an assistant, not a crutch, and then being your own voice from that point forward.
And one thing that I really love about, again, I'm a 56-year-old guy and I'm trying to learn tech, so it's a struggle sometimes. But I see so many people, they're like, "Oh, I have 40 different AIs that I'm using." I'm like, "How about getting really good at one or two of them?" Like for me, I know, like, now that I've been using it since the day it first came out, it's getting to learn my speech patterns, the things that I like, the things that I talk about. So when I say to some, help me write this, but help me write it in my voice. Because if you anybody knows me, if you read any of my books that I've written, they know I write on a fourth grade, fifth grade level, because that's what the average person reads at, is fourth or fifth grade level. So if you see me using 5 or 6 syllable words, it's probably not me. So, talk about that, how you have to make your chat GP, your AI sound like you, even when you are writing, if you are just writing a quick blurb or something like that.
Yeah, well, okay, so it's funny that you said that. I always say that my wife uses the words from the back of the dictionary that I don't know, because I too really enjoy this, like, simplicity in language. I'm not a big word user either, as you can probably tell. So I think you can train AI. If you go into chat GPT and you start a project, there's a couple ways of doing it. You can start a project within chat GPT, and then inside of the project you can there's instructions, and you can take something that you've written before, or many things that you've written before, and give it a set of instructions. Like, here is my tone from several things that I've written, and I want you to use this moving forward. Also, I want you to take into account that I write at I like to use simplistic language. I don't like using bigger, sophisticated words. Please also keep into account that I tend to use more pauses in my language, and I like to pontificate and be a little more philosophical. I'm into Eastern versus Western. Like, I can feed it all these different nuances about myself, and then paste all those things. Now, everything that I do within the project remembers the set of instructions and the tone and everything that I've given it. Remember, it only knows what I've given it. So if it's not perfect, it's because we didn't put the right information in there. It's not because it isn't learning. It's not a learning system. It's a system of instruction. So if we can go in there and set it all up and really start to form it over time, I think it can start to mirror close enough to what we might sound like. I've never come across perfect in anything I've ever done with it, ever. Will that happen one day? Maybe. I don't know. I would suspect it'll get closer and closer. But it certainly is like a baton pass. Like, if you're in a race and you're one of those, baton, you're passing the baton to the next runner. I see it as that more than anything else. It is carrying the baton. I'm carrying the baton of instruction over to that, and then it's passing the baton eventually back to me with the output of whatever it is that I've asked it to do. And now I've got to carry it the rest of the way. I've got to finesse maybe my way of saying it, and take that and do with it what I can, so that it's really resonant of me. So consider it a writing buddy, or an inspiration buddy, or a blank wall and don't know what to write buddy. But it is what it is in those genres. It's not the thing that ends with the perfected place of content that you're going to take and post. If you take that and post it, 9 times out of 10, someone's going to just, again, go to the next message. They're not going to see that as you.
Yep. So where do you see the future? Because it's obviously, right, it's June, I think the 10th, 2025. Where do you see the future of AI, and especially in small business?
So I think that small businesses have a leg up. I actually think that, I believe that small businesses can move. I always thought small businesses can move faster than larger businesses, because they had less governance, they had less restrictions. They have room for error. They can put things out there and test and try things that large businesses can't, because everybody's watching them. If a small business puts it out there, it's forgiven the moment that it's put up. You really haven't devastated your brand. So there's that. But then also when you look at adding AI into the mix, now can I add, like you said, you've added hours back in the day. Everyone can add hours back in the day. I can't tell you how many times I've asked it to convert something and build a spreadsheet for me that would have taken me like a half an hour to an hour to sit there and create the perfect spreadsheet that is exactly what I want it to be. I just give it the instructions, boom, it creates it. I've taken information and asked it to organize the information in a better way. I've taken my electric and gas bill and asked it to analyze all of it. I live in Lisbon, Portugal, and so everything's in Portuguese, and I can't read the Portuguese, and yet we have a leak somewhere, and I can't figure out where the leak is and why we're paying 400 to 500 euros a month for something I shouldn't be paying for. I fed it 6 months worth of electric bills and gas bills and asked it to figure out where is this happening, what date did it start happening, and what can I do about it? And it reproduced the exact report for me with all the details. And then I reproduced it in European Portuguese in a one sheet and sent it in to my landlord so that they could pinpoint the thing and take care of it. I mean, that would have taken me hours and given me so much headache to have to go through it, or I would have had to hire somebody to do that. So the application is mind-boggling when you think about all the time saved as a small business that we could use to increase our output by using it to organize things and strategize and create things we weren't thinking about before. I think it's just like, it's incredible what we can do and what we're about to do. And the biggest thing that I'll say in closing that part is memory. Memory right now denigrates over time. So you'll notice the more that you use, well, Claude doesn't have memory as much. You have to keep reminding it. But if you use ChatGPT, you can ask it to memorize something. Like, remember that my wife's birthday is on blah, blah, blah. And it will save it into memory forevermore. It puts it into a historical memory database, and you can go into settings and see all the memories that you've created. The thing is that over time, it still tends to forget that when you're asking it a question, it doesn't go back into memory and remember all those things and use it in contextual value for whatever it is that you're asking it to do. So the memory equation isn't quite there yet. Will it be? That's where I think we're going to see the incredible gains, like 6 months to a year from now, probably, where it's going to start to remember things that we never could remember even in a million years. And it's going to do that for us so that we can start to become more present and more accurate and not have to remember all the little things that as a small business, we're really required to remember in order to be successful. So that's the partnership that I think will increase over time. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And like about maybe once every 2 weeks, I'll actually ask ChatGPT, I'll say, please, can you write a biography on me about who I am and what I do? And it kind of just keeps it in the memory. And it keeps adding as things go on. It just keeps adding to the bio. So I think that helped me a lot. But also I think it's kind of like a muscle. If you use it every day, it strengthens. So, but if you're using it, once a week, once every 2 weeks, it may not be as powerful as if you use it every day, right?
It, like anything else, the more you put, it's input output, right? The more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. And one thing I'll say is that you really can learn from it. I'm learning Portuguese with it. Yeah. I'm asking it to give me 10 things I could learn today based upon what you already know that I've learned. Give me 10 more things I could learn today. And then I'm practicing it with that and asking it to give me feedback based upon what I just did. And it's saying, oh, you didn't pronounce this. Remember, it has the tilde above the accent or the accent above the E. And so you need to pronounce it this way. And I'm like, beautiful. That is exactly what I needed, because I don't want to mispronounce something when I'm out on the street, right? So those are the little nuances that I think we could use to coach it. We could feed it our content and say, if pretend that you're my audience and break down the audience and say, how would you receive this if you were my audience? And where do you see some of the ways that I could increase or improve how this sounds, and learn from and practice as a coach, almost a writing coach or whatever kind of coach you want, to learn from whatever you're feeding it.
Man, I was at an event with Gary Vaynerchuk a while ago, and he asked the question, he said, how many people are actually using ChatGPT for research? 70% of the hands went up. So that 70% of the hands that were in that room are using ChatGPT almost instead of Google, because they know the first five responses on Google, they're all going to be sponsored. So a lot of people are using, ChatGPT for education. Like for me, I know I'm writing an article tomorrow on imposter syndrome, and I wanted to learn a little bit more. So I said, ChatGPT, give me all your best information on imposter syndrome. And it gave me like 1,000 pages to learn. But I'm using it for research. And I think a lot more people are going to be ChatGPTing it instead of Googling things in the future. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've switched. I've switched. I moved to Perplexity for all my searches, and Perplexity, to me, it gives me the exact thing I'm asking for, where Google search doesn't give me the exact thing I'm asking for. It gives me things that I then have to go click on to go find the thing I'm asking for, where Perplexity saves me 1, 2, 3 more clicks. And that's what I really value out of what's coming out of things like Perplexity. The thing that ChatGPT could give you is as long as you turn on there's a little globe icon, and then it searches the web for you and gives you more accurate information. However, it tends to make up information as well. So you have to ask, it, is that true or is that real? Or you have to go do your own research and make sure that it's real before you quote it, or before you quote a statistic, because sometimes it hallucinates the answer, which is interesting, that you're not getting the most accurate information from a thing that's been fed data. So we can't rely on it as the most accurate thing. But what we can do is go in, and that's why I like Perplexity, because it actually sources it tells you where it sourced the information, and I can rely more on clicking on something to go see where it came from, which gives me more trust in the tool than something that's just a regurgitated piece of content or results page. So, but yeah, I think that's where we're heading. I think Google's going to have to reconform and rethink everything. I mean, it's not enough that they put a little Gemini answer at the top of a search results page to give us what we need. I'm looking for Perplexity type results, where it's full embodied. It's giving me all the context. It's quoting me all the sources, and it's not feeding me currently. It's not feeding me ads. The new way of thinking is to show up in the result of the AI. So as I'm looking for something that helps me with imposter syndrome, and then it's quoting perhaps maybe 3 to 5 of the top people who are known for books or things that have written about imposter syndrome, I'm now trusting those 3 people as the people that maybe I'm going to quote or cite. And that's the new SEO. That's the way that I think we're going to start to trust, the leaders or the speakers in those areas. Are they embedded into the information we're receiving and trusting those people to be the people we quote, versus a search result on Google and trying to find all the sources and trying to figure out where we're gonna use all those things. So that's where the new SEO, the new. I mean, I really think that this is going to change the entire industry.
But I also, something you mentioned, like if I'm looking for something on ChatGPT, I'll purposely put in every time search the internet for this answer. Don't just give me your answer. Search the internet and then give me sources. So I'm actually going to get sources and a search from the internet. But also, I think that there's a difference between somebody getting the free version. You're going to get different answers than you're going to get if you get the paid version. For me, I think $20 a month for ChatGPT 4.0, that's a bargain. But so talk about people using free, and then also people that are using paid. You think they're getting different answers?
I don't know if you're getting different answers or not. I'm not probably the best person to ask about that. What I think I know you get is speed with and you get memory. So we were talking about before the memory aspect. Memory doesn't, I don't believe that it comes with the free part. And if we want to save time, speed and memory are two of the most critical parts to not having to retype everything every single time. And not having to learn from the things we've done before. Because if I'm constantly having to re-input everything, then what's the point? I wanted to know and learn from our experiences together, AI and me. I want us to learn from each other. And so that's where I think paid is more applicable for me, is in remembering and delivering things faster, so I can do less and less over time in the areas I don't like doing, and more in the areas I do like doing.
All right. So this is a teaching podcast. So I actually have a question from one of my friends. He's getting out of the military. He's going to start a company, and he said, "What would be your top 3 pieces of advice if a person is going to start a company in 2025? What would be your top 3 pieces of business advice?"
That's a great question. And so the first one is, don't start your business on credit cards. I know this sounds fundamental. The credit card funding of a business comes back to bite you. And most of the entrepreneurs that I have met, I really encourage them to look for ways to scale, either with funding, with a line of credit, or self-funding. But using credit cards is borrowing from debt that really weighs down on the business itself and starts to creep in on your wellness. You really are. You're almost starting. You're starting under as a negative, a net negative, and at that point, you're starting with so much stress that it'll weigh down on the business. The next thing that I'd say is really hone in on one avatar, one person, one niche, one super area. Most companies don't do this. Most companies that I see, especially entrepreneurs, small business and medium business, they have too wide a spectrum of who they think they're going to serve. And I realize that they think they can serve the world, but they attract less people by serving more, by thinking they can serve more. The ironic thing is that if you fish in an ocean, you're not going to get as many fish as if you fish in a smaller lake. So start in a smaller lake first, and then build into the bigger lake, and then potentially you will get into the ocean. But that's not how you want to start out. It doesn't take much to gain success in a business. You can gain it with just a couple clients, and in doing that, you want to make sure that you really design, where is that lake, where is that pond even that I want to play in. That's the most important thing I think you can do. And you said 3 things, so I'll add one more thing. Last thing I would say is design how you want to be with your business up front. What I mean by that is, how do I want to be in wellness in my life? How do I want to be owned or in ownership of my business? Because very quickly it's going to demand what you think will become days and nights of working and 7 days a week. And if I'm not working, I'm not making money, which is all wrong. When we were working for a company or we were working for the military, that was not the case. We're on when we're at work and we're off when we're not at work. But why are we doing that to ourselves when we work for ourselves? That's counterproductive. It's counterintuitive. It's not something that helps us to be our best selves when we need to be our best selves. So design how you want to be with your business. Design the rules that you're unwilling to change for. And if I can't do this, then they're not in the right business. The right business for you shouldn't demand that you lose yourself while running the business.
I love it. So I love what you talk about as far as niching down. When I talked with Alex Hormozy, that's something that he really pushed on me. Really, that the riches are in the niches, and that you have to, like for me, when I wrote my book with John Lee Dumas. He told me the first 2 weeks, sometimes you got to go an inch wide, but you got to go a mile deep to try to figure out who your perfect listener is and your avatar. And I think like you mentioned, like Steve Sims, I have him on the show a couple of times. He talks about swimming in the blue ocean. If you're in the red ocean, you're not going to eat much. But if you're in the blue ocean, and if you niche down right, you're going to have enough fish to where, and you're not going to have a whole lot of competition. Like you said, if you're in a lake, you're going to have a lot less competition than if you're in the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I think is important is having evergreen products, because even while we're sleeping, like when we go on a cruise or when we're away, I'm still making money because the internet never closes. So I still have money coming in from books and sales and stuff like that. So how important is it for today's business owners to have evergreen products?
It depends on the type of business. So there's no one answer I can give you. Every business is so different. Some of them won't make sense for evergreen products, and some of them will make perfect sense for evergreen products. It really depends. It also depends on what kind of business impact you want to make. Like for instance, when you're first starting out, is that the right time for an evergreen product? Maybe, but most likely not. Is that something that can come a little bit down the road? Yeah, I'd phase it in versus saying I'm gonna do this up front. We get so grandiose in all of our plans up front instead of just getting the 1 or 2 clients or the 3 clients that we need just to start the business. And your upfront question was, how if I had to learn 1, 2, or 3 things to start a business, then I would stay away from the evergreen product right away, and I would work towards the evergreen product eventually. And evergreen comes in a lot of different flavors. Evergreen can be something that relies on, maybe purchasing tickets to something that's coming up that you're going to do live. So it's always on and there's always something to purchase. It doesn't mean that you have to create an e-learning product or a whatever you want to call it for the evergreen product. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at things that makes it achievable and doable without falling into the trap of also becoming an internet marketer, because there's so many internet marketers that are really crowding the space right now. And how do you stand out from the pack of all the sea of same? There are so many different internet evergreen products out there. There's so many different avenues that we could all fall into and fall into the trap of thinking that we're going to be successful if I put an evergreen product out there. I'm not a big fan of just putting an evergreen product out there. I'm a bigger fan of creating something with others live and then turn that into the product. So as you're almost building the plane as you fly it. If I turn around and just create an evergreen product, there is zero understanding or certainty that I have that this thing is going to work. I may have just built something that just won't land for anybody. And now I just put all this time and effort into it and it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. I've done it. I can tell you that I can say that I've done that before and it does not work. So now what I would suggest is get your 1, 2, or 3 clients, then move to the next phase and do your live, whatever it is, or work with a group or create something or create a product in real time, and then see how that goes. Iterate along the way and turn that into your evergreen product. That's the safest, best way to do it. And you'll be earning clients along the way. You'll be making revenue upfront from day one. You don't have to wait until the evergreen product goes live to do it.
I love it. So what's going on in Bryan's world? What's going on with you? What do you have coming up? And how can we get into your ecosystem?
Thank you, man. This has been such a pleasure. I love your I love the real time conversation that you have with people and how you really just ask what's on your mind. And I think that's what's on everyone's mind. So this has been such a pleasure. I would love to connect with whoever's watching. I love, as my first book says, human to human. So if there's a chance to connect, I'm in it. And you can go to either my website, bryankramer.com. So Bryan with a Y, Kramer with a K, and go there, and you can sign up for my newsletter, which is called Being Human. BE is capitalized, so Being Human. And I write one newsletter a week. It's really a letter. It's not a newsletter. It's a letter about one topic that I coach on. I coach executives and entrepreneurs, high performing executives and entrepreneurs that have basically lost the plot and want it back. Anybody that doesn't know where they are right now, and they have ambition, they want to achieve, they want to create, but they don't quite know what that is and or how to get there. And I'm really good at mapping that and helping them move forward in my executive coaching practice. I carry a lot of different types of people. So I love people and I love working with them to help them get to where they want to go. And so that's what I would invite people to do. But you can very easily go to my website, sign up. And if you hit reply, I reply. So that's how we have human conversation. I love when people reach out and we just engage. I'm not expecting business. I just love the fact that we can actually be in relationship together.
And you're also on LinkedIn. You're also on Instagram. You're also on Facebook. I'm following you everywhere. So guys,
I'm on all the things.
So if you're on all the things and all the places, just check out Bryan, friend request him or connect him with him on LinkedIn. His LinkedIn profile is fire, by the way. I love your LinkedIn profile. So guys, if you want to get into an ecosystem, just send him a message, say hi, and just tell him that we sent you. And I'm sure that you guys can create a relationship just by saying hi. Bryan, I just want to say thank you. Mitko, I want to say thank you so much for for putting us together. Brother, this has been so much fun. I just want to say that I'm truly humbled and grateful to be able to hang out with you today.
The feeling's mutual. I'm so happy that we met and we'll carry this forward.
I love it. And guys, as I end every show, every morning we wake up, we have a choice. You could be a victim or you could be a victor. If you watch this show, you're no longer victims of your past, but you're victors of your present and future. So thank you guys for always showing up. I love you guys. Remember, vertical momentum, the only way to go is up. And remember to take care of yourselves and take care of others. I love you guys. Have a great week. Bryan, my brother, have an awesome week.
You too, my friend.